done, well, there's loads of research on the same topic, but broadly speaking, I'd like you to imagine for a moment, I've got 24 different kinds of jam over here, and I've got 6 different kinds of jam over here. Now, I'd like you all to imagine, you're going to walk up to the front in a moment, and you're going to start tasting from either the 24 or the 6. Just tasting, that's all I want you to think about for the moment. Are you more inclined to go towards the 24, more choice, or the 6, less choice?
6.
There's no right or wrong answer because that's personal to you. But in all the experiments that have ever been done about choice, more choice when it comes to taste, so testing, more choice comes out about 60% of the population would want more choice rather than less choice, okay, 60-40. That's not the important bit. What's important is when it now comes to buying from 24 or from 6, what do you think the numbers look like? It is reversed, but significantly reversed. Again, time doesn't allow me to have you all start throwing numbers around. 30% of the people would buy from the 6, and 3% of those people would buy from the 24. So what we know about choice is the more choice you give somebody, on the face of it, the happier they are, but when it physically comes to buying, they tend not to want to take the step from tasting, sampling, to actually purchasing. So, here's a little tip. If you want to, and what we know about choice is the optimum number is 3. In all the research that's ever been done, 3 is the optimum number. About 65% of people that engage in that taste process, that sampling process, will proceed to purchase if they're given a choice of 3. Why? Because human beings like 3 things to choose from, and if you are a skilled salesperson, what you do is you help them to eliminate one and choose one, because everyone loves that. If I've got a choice of 3, I kind of want to narrow the focus. I want to eliminate one, so the question I might be asking a customer is, which one do you like the least? Which one do you like the least? Because it helps me to just, yeah, okay, of those 3, gold, silver, bronze, good, better, best, see all those things before? That's done for a reason. It's because people want to narrow focus, you'll eliminate one and then you'll choose one. It might not necessarily be the silver, it might be the gold, it might be the bronze. But which one do you like least? Well, actually, so when you're engaging with people, you might bring out 3 different types of pipe, for example. Here are 3 potential solutions. Which one do you like the least? And then somebody will say, well, can't that one because it's quite a lot more expensive than the others. Or not sure it do quite the job that the other 2 do. And then we're down to 2, and then it leaves people much more likely to make a decision. Okay, so asking for referrals. Is that an important part of your business? Like getting a new customer from a customer? No?
Yeah, can be. Yeah.
Okay. Whether you are looking to build new customer relationships or new supplier relationships, the one thing I would just counsel you to do is not to ask. You know, would it be okay if you introduced me to such and such? Would it be okay if? Why? Because the minute you take that subservient approach in that relationship, most people will take control and they will want to think about it. And I'm not sure I can think of anyone right now. But whenever you have a referral opportunity, don't ask, make an assumption. It's called an embedded command, and I'll give you an example of what an embedded command looks like. And I brought this piece of pipe out. So it might be that somebody's in the process of purchasing this piece of pipe. How many of the fittings do you want to go with this? So that's partially that consensus thing we talked about in relation to Amazon, but it's an assumption. It's making the assumption that you can't have that without the fittings. So don't say, would you like some fittings with this? How many of the fittings would you like to go with it? Because most of our other customers will purchase all the things that go with that. I'm not using your language, apologies, but something along those lines. So it's called an embedded command. It's making an assumption that they will follow one action with another action. Is that fairly clear? Okay. I was also asked to spend just a few moments on time management, and I can think of no worse subject as a general thing, but there are just 1 or 2 things I'd just like to try and help you narrow your focus on. There are 3 words I'd like you to write down for me. Remember these because they're really, really important. Look, everyone in this room is successful, everyone in this room is busy. The problem with busy is that sometimes we ignore some of the fundamentals. So the 3 words I'd like you to write down are these. On, the word in, and the word me. On, in, and me. Okay, the reason why these 3 words are very, very important is where do you think most people that are reasonably successful in business, where do you think we spend all of our time? And if you're not sure what those 3 words mean, on means strategy, in means day-to-day involvement in your business, making money, for want of a better expression, and me is the family time and the golf and all the other things that you do in your limited spare time. Where do you think most people spend most of their focus?
On me.
If the answer is me, then I salute you. Because the reality is, most people spend all of their time in their business, right? Even when you get home, you've got one eye on the email, you're taking a few phone calls, you're thinking about tomorrow's meeting. That's true, isn't it? The reality is, most of us spend about 80% of our time working in our businesses. Even when we're at home with the kids reading a bedtime story, we're still thinking about business. That is inactivity. We spend very little time on our businesses. That's thinking something through. Here's a simple tip to get increased customer engagement and increase sales by 11%. Simply imagine the outcome. That's part of strategy. Imagine the outcome before the outcome. In other words, before you pick up the telephone to speak to a supplier or a customer, imagine them saying, absolutely yes, would love you to come and see me. I want to place the biggest order I've ever placed. Because the reality is, and we all know this as a matter of fact, whenever you're having a good day or a good week, everyone wants to do business with you, don't they? You never understand why. It's something in your demeanour, the way you walk, the lilt, the tone of your voice is something that makes you more engaging. And when you're having a bad day, the reverse happens. That's true, isn't it? So if you imagine the outcome, it's called pre-visioning. If you imagine an outcome before you actually engage in a process, you are 11% more likely to engage with that customer or reach a positive outcome. 11%. So every time you do something 10 times, that's 1 for free that you wouldn't have had before. So the on part is really important. Today, the time you spend together doing this kind of stuff, whether you get value from me or one of the other speakers, that's on activity. It's the strategy, it's the planning, it's the thinking. And then the me time, which all of us push to one side, don't we leave that till last, the slower day will come. It's not long before I retire. The kids, they won't be grown up for at least 20 years. And then in the blink of an eye, we've left it all behind. So I would encourage you, just as a kind of a rule, 60% of the time in your business, 20% strategy, 20% me. And what's the thing that always goes in your life calendar first?
Me.
Well, it should do. Me should be the thing that goes in first. Why? Because you will enjoy the experience. The thing that's common amongst many, many great companies that I've worked with, all of the directors, all the owners of the business always say one thing: enjoy the process. They're always a happy group of people, and it's because they are thinking about themselves first. You get a much more productive team of people if they put me in the diary first. So I would encourage you to do that, and that's not to detract from anything else that I've said already. So the time bank thing, just take one step back, just to kind of put this into hard focus is, let's just pick a number. And I don't want to embarrass anyone, that's the last thing I want to do, but let's just pick £50,000 as an annual figure by way of a salary. If you are working 220 days of the year, approximately, for around 8 hours a day, some of you will laugh when you hear 8 hours a day, there might be more, might be less, but let's just run with that. 220 days allowing for bank holidays, weekends and holidays, 8 hours a day, that's an hourly rate of about £24 an hour. Okay, you may never have thought about that before, but here's the thing. The next time you have a meeting with your manager or a colleague, and you've allocated an hour, because we always allocate an hour for a meeting, don't we? What we know, if we're really honest with ourselves, that of that hour, how much of it is really productive? 15 minutes, if you're lucky, and that's if you're with somebody that's really engaging. 15 minutes of the hour, and yet we all sit there like sheep for an hour waiting for the time to pass. Well, here's the thing. If you are earning £24 an hour on a £50,000 a year salary, or multiples thereof, and you're sitting there for 45 minutes doing something non-productive, that's cost you the best part of 18 quid, hasn't it? But in reality, we don't think like that. We don't think, well, it's like walking down the local high street, tossing money in different directions, but we do that every single minute of every single day. The thing about time is we don't have an overdraft facility. 24 years of our life spent working, 24 years of our life spent asleep, 4.4 years of our life in the bathroom, 8.8 if you're a woman, obviously, and 6.6 years of our life watching TV. That's scary, isn't it? So here's the thing, you have a great opportunity with all that spare time to really maximise performance at £24 an hour. And if you focus on the 24 and you make that 48, the rest takes care of itself. But the reality is we focus on the big numbers. We focus on the end game, and then it becomes very, very difficult. And it will be very interesting to see some of the presentations afterwards from your colleagues, because the one thing I rarely see is really hard-drilled, specific focus. What's the very next thing that we need to do? Most people have this kind of game-changing plan. We're going to change this, we're going to do that, we're going to increase our numbers by 100%. Well, that's great, but where do you start? How do you know you've got over the line? And that's a challenge that a lot of us have. So here's another little exercise for everyone in the short time we have left. I'd like you to draw on a piece of paper a line, a horizontal line. If you had a bit too much to drink last night, as close to horizontal as you can get. And what I'd like at one end, if you don't mind, ideally on the left of the line, is the number -10. So -10 at the end of the left-hand